Thanks to CuriosityStream for keeping LegalEagle in the air. Almost 2 million Facebook users have pledged to storm Area 51 to demand answers about UFOs. The planned event is scheduled for September 20th, 2019. We're through the looking glass, people. The truth is out there. The US Air Force has used Area 51 for nuclear testing, experimental aircraft, and defense systems. But for decades, people have suspected that Area 51 houses dead aliens, spaceships, and other gear related to alien life. Although the Facebook user who organized the event has said the whole thing is a joke, plenty of people are taking this post seriously. If just 1% of people who signed up online decided to actually show up, the government could have a big problem on its hands, and the truth could finally be revealed. That's why the Air Force actually issued a statement. Area 51 is an open training range for the US Air Force, and we would discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American armed forces. The Air Force is ready to protect America and its assets. What started as a joke is evolving into a serious attempt to learn more about one of the government's most notorious military black sites. So what would happen if people actually tried to invade Area 51? Well, we're about to find out. Hey Legal Eagles, it's time to think like a lawyer, and today we are talking about the legal ramifications of what would happen if a bunch of idiots stormed Area 51. So what is Area 51? Area 51 is the common name of a highly classified US Air Force facility located within the Nevada Test and Training Range. The US government set up Area 51 after World War II when it was developing the U-2 spy plane. Area 51 is near a dry lake bed called Groom Lake, about 90 miles north of Las Vegas. The first U-2 planes took flight in 1955, and immediately reports poured in about unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. The U-2 spy plane was so advanced it appeared alien even to commercial pilots. Since the US Air Force was not going to acknowledge the existence of its super-secret spy plane program, the government dismissed UFO sightings as natural phenomena or weather events, which has spawned decades of conspiracy theories ever since. Even after the U-2 program stopped testing at the site, the Air Force continued to use Area 51. We just don't know everything that they have used it for. The theories about aliens intensified in 1989 when an engineer named Bob Lazar told the local Las Vegas News that he had worked on alien technology at Area 51.
Yeah, I didn't even believe in flying saucers up until I was employed at S4.
He claimed to have seen 9 different kinds of UFOs during his work at Area 51. The Air Force, of course, did not comment on Bob Lazar. In fact, for years, the government has refused to even confirm Area 51's existence, despite the many credible accounts that real people were actually working at the site.
The government is doing everything but looking out for us. I mean, the only thing they're looking out is for themselves.
For example, in the 1990s, lawyer Jonathan Turley represented federal workers from Area 51 who had been exposed to some kind of burning chemical that had caused catastrophic health problems. Doctors could not even identify what chemicals could have caused the damage. Although the government did finally acknowledge the site, President Clinton issued a blanket waiver letting Area 51 keep its chemicals secret. Interest in Area 51 peaked again in 2019 after Lazar went on Joe Rogan's podcast to describe his alleged role in attempting to reverse engineer alien technology at Area 51. Lazar is a self-proclaimed physicist who claims to have worked at a facility called S4 inside of a mountain.
I went into the hangar door, and in the hangar door was the disk, the flying saucer that I worked on. This was a small reactor about the size of a hemisphere, about the size of a basketball, on a metal plate, and when it was running, it produced a gravitational field of its own.
Regardless of whether Lazar is credible, it is undeniable that things are still happening at Area 51. A secret commuter jet known as Janet Airlines still transports federal workers from the Las Vegas airport to the site. It's actually the only way that federal workers can get in. And the site is actually expanding. According to a Popular Mechanics aerial time-lapse, a new runway was built, buildings have been added, and the government is still excavating the mountainside. So the question is, could people storm Area 51? Well, there are 2 big problems with storming Area 51. The first is practical and the second is legal. The practical problem with storming Area 51 is how to get close enough to the site to actually do or see something. I'm not going to go into too much detail about all of the practical problems of storming Area 51 because Real Life Lore has already done an amazing video essay about all of the practical issues, including a lot of information about Janet Airlines and the issues of storming storming an airbase in the middle of the Nevada desert. So definitely go check out that video after you watch this one. Link in the doobly-doo. But suffice to say, the closest town to Area 51 is Rachel, Nevada, population of 58. Conspiracy theorists routinely gather there for conventions and fun, and the locals play along with souvenir shops, alien-themed food, and general kitsch. The only hotel in town is the LegalEagle Inn, which is already booked for September 19th and 20th, so obviously someone intends to show up, and they've already booked their rooms. Rachel is located on Nevada Highway 375, which is sometimes called the Extraterrestrial Highway. To get close to Area 51, people must take a dirt road from Route 375, which leads to restricted lands. You can get about 15 miles up the dirt road before you start seeing fences and security. Now, Area 51 is a classified military operating area. That means that not all of the borders of the huge area are fenced or walled. However, they are marked by orange posts and plenty of warning signs. The signs prohibit photographs and trespass. Those who have approached the borders have been confronted by men wearing camouflage. It isn't clear whether these camouflaged men are military personnel or private security, but Area 51 enthusiasts have dubbed the men camo dudes. YouTuber Adventures with Christian has made several trips to Area 51, including hiking nearby mountain ranges and driving to various perimeter points. Christian once drove up to the back gate, which is guarded by a high fence, several buildings, and the camo dudes. The armed guards followed Christian as he drove back. On another occasion, Christian tried to sleep inside his vehicle near a different gate, but he was met by police and, again, camouflaged military personnel. The police politely told Christian to leave. Christian's experience seems to confirm some of the rules of engagement for Area 51 security personnel. They are reportedly ordered to observe and act as a deterrent rather than seeking direct engagement with trespassers. However, they will contact local law enforcement to deal with anyone who is suspicious. The military uses motion sensors, cameras, and other early warning devices to notify them every time someone approaches Area 51. That's why the best way to see the restricted area might be from the air. However, it's illegal to fly over Area 51's airspace. The airspace above Area 51 is a 23-mile by 25-mile no-fly zone, so don't expect that you'll be able to fly any drones nearby. Even pilots from local Air Force bases in California and Nevada are prohibited from flying over Area 51 without permission. Pilots who have attempted to fly into one of the buffer zones around the airspace are punished, even if it's just a mistake. And pilots caught knowingly flying into Area 51 airspace can be court-martialed. Drones are also a no-go. When Hans Faulkner used a drone to take several videos of Area 51 from above, the military quickly posted new signs explicitly prohibiting the use of drones. But let's say you manage to turn down Route 375 and approach the boundaries. Will law enforcement be there to stop you? This brings us to the second issue with storming Area 51, the legal problem. And oh boy, there are lots of legal problems. Trespassing on military bases is a crime. Under Title 18, Section 1382, no person may enter a military installation without permission. Military installations include a, quote, military, naval, or Coast Guard reservation, post, fort, arsenal, yard, station, or installation. Area 51 is considered part of Edwards Air Force Base, so it qualifies as a place you cannot enter without serious consequences. Those found guilty of trespass face 6 months in federal prison, a $500 fine, or both, and the authorities take this issue very seriously. No kidding. In 2014, a tour bus accidentally drove past the warning signs and got just inside of Area 51. Military personnel armed with assault rifles pulled the bus over and threatened to arrest the passengers and their guide. They were charged with misdemeanor trespass and given $650 fines. In 2016, a BBC show called Conspiracy Road Trip decided to film the perimeter of Area 51. They approached the security hut, but when no one came out, the crew of 12 decided to keep going past the security hut and see how far they could get.
To me, it seemed like an ordinary military facility. But my companions were convinced this was the gateway to the extraterrestrial secrets.
The guards were inside watching a basketball game. When one of the camera crew knocked on the window of the security hut, armed guards rushed out and held the men at gunpoint. They were forced to lie on the ground for 3 hours while the FBI ran security checks. To would-be alien hunters and those who believe Fox Mulder's claim that the truth is out there,
no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
These penalties may seem not so bad. It actually gets much, much worse. The perimeter of Area 51 contains no trespass signs warning people that the military can use deadly force. Has the military ever used deadly force against a trespasser? Yes. Yes, they have. Earlier this year, Area 51 security personnel shot and killed a man who approached the perimeter in a car and blew past security checkpoints. After an 8-mile car chase, he jumped out of the car, and when the man held a, quote, cylindrical object in his hands, guards shot him dead on the spot. In addition to death, which is probably bad enough, people rounded up after an attack on Area 51 could be charged with acts of terrorism. The Patriot Act defines domestic terrorism as an attempt to, quote, intimidate or coerce a civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Although there is no separate federal offense for domestic terrorism, defendants could be charged under specific state and federal laws. For example, it is illegal to kill or attempt to kill a federal agent or to use explosives to destroy a federal building. These kinds of charges carry serious prison time. Even if thousands of alien enthusiasts showed up on September 20th, it looks like the US military would probably be ready to respond. Remember that Area 51 is inside the Nevada Test and Training Range, where the military conducts live target practice and conducts simulated war. I was curious about this myself, so I spoke to a friend who was a major in the Marines, serving as an artillery officer, joint terminal attack controller, and a military prosecutor for the Judge Advocate General. I asked him what would happen if thousands of civilians stormed Area 51 and where they would be tried. His response was, they wouldn't be tried anywhere because they'd be dead. So there's that. Good night, everyone. But when I pressed him, he said that supposing they actually survived, they'd be tried in the local federal district court, which would be the federal court in the District of Nevada. But he also pointed out that the military is not in the habit of fighting back in the media, so they would be especially reluctant to use lethal force against a huge group of people in a highly publicized event. Now, given the forewarning to the US military, the Air Force is likely building up a supply of non-lethal force. An actual invasion would be met with multiple levels of non-lethal force in ascending levels of brutality. So long as the buildings and hangars were secure, the Air Force would be unlikely to use more than really painful, less than lethal force. So what's the verdict? Could people storm Area 51 and make something happen? Probably, but what would actually happen would be mass arrests and even death if people got particularly aggressive. Of course, this doesn't mean that there aren't questions about Area 51 that are worth asking. It's just unlikely that massing outside the entrance to an Air Force base will yield any real answers. What has worked? Well, a good old-fashioned Freedom of Information Act, or a FOIA request. Back in 2005, Jeffrey T. Richelson, a senior fellow at the National Security Archive, submitted a FOIA request about Area 51. 8 years later, the CIA sent back the largest cache of documents about Area 51 ever released, and confirming the site's existence for the very first time. And confirming once again that the lawyers are the real American heroes. Now, obviously, aliens have never come to planet Earth, but it's only a matter of time until they do. Now, if you want to prepare for an alien invasion, I'd recommend World War A, Aliens Invade Earth on CuriosityStream. World War A is a great documentary where leading scientists and researchers weigh in on the scenarios that might actually unfold if aliens did find us and decide to visit Earth. It's a great bit of speculative nonfiction. And it asks, should we even be searching for extraterrestrial life? And what are the risks of reaching out? And what are the risks if Earth is found by aliens? CuriosityStream is the home of over 24,000 shows and documentaries about science, nature, history, technology, society, and lifestyle. Legal Eagles get a free account for 30 days by clicking the link below or by using the promo code LegalEagle. Using the promo code really helps out this channel. So click on the link below and learn how you can fight back against the coming extraterrestrial invasion. So, do you agree? Leave your objections in the comments and check out my other real law reviews over here, where I will see you in court.